طيب حديث number 35 عن عطاء بن أبي رباح قال لي ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما ألا أريك امرأة من أهل الجنة فقلت بلى قال هذه المرأة السوداء أتت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فقالت إني أصرع وإني أكتشف فادعوا الله تعالى لي قال إن شئت صبرت ولك الجنة وإن شئت دعوت الله تعالى أن يعافيك فقالت أصبر فقالت إني أكتشف فادعوا الله أن لا أكتشف فدعا لها متفق عليه. So in this narration on authority of, or narrated by Ata ibn Abi Rabah, he said that Ibn Abbas, who was his sheikh and teacher, may Allah be pleased with them all, said that, shall I not point to you a woman from the woman or the people of Jannah? And Ata said, of course, O Ibn Abbas, tell me who is that? He said, this black woman over here. She came to the Prophet ﷺ and she complained that she had like epilepsy, right? Or she would get seizures. And she asked the Prophet, and she also like her aura is exposed sometimes when she falls down in epileptic fits or in the seizures, and her aura might get exposed. So she said to the Prophet ﷺ, I have these seizures and my aura is exposed. Make dua for me. And the Prophet ﷺ said that, if you will, I will make dua for you, or if you will, if you are patient, you will get Jannah. So she said, I will be patient, right, and deal with the seizures. And but she said afterwards, but when I fall into these seizures, my aura sometimes get exposed, right? Ektashif, like my clothing comes up, for example. So make dua that doesn't happen. So the Prophet made dua for that, and this hadith is muttafaqun alayhi, related by Bukhari and Muslim. So first, it shows, I haven't talked about Ata bin Abi Rabah radiallahu anhu. He was a tabi'i, a follower of the companions radiallahu anhu. It said that he studied with over 200 companions, Sahaba of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Most notably, he was a student of Ibn Abbas, which is where he's narrating this hadith right now. He's supposed to have been, and this is also subhanAllah like a key lesson for us in sabr, in patience. Ata ibn Abi Rabah radiallahu anhu, he was from Abyssinia, basically Habasha, Africa, some say Nubia or mixed. And he was a former slave basically. And some say he was crippled. And he had only one eye that was working. The other eye became completely blinded. Yet, this shows us, like Imam Ahmad radiallahu anhu said, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He bestows the treasure upon knowledge from whoever He loves, meaning that there's like no race or region that a person technically belongs to that can get this knowledge, except with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's love. Like he had all these deficiencies and hardships, and like, anybody else may have given up, like, who am I? I'm a slave. He also, some narrations say that he wasn't like the most attractive, he's crippled, he only has one eye, etc. No, but he sat and went and studied in Mecca with, so many companions. He became freed, obviously, and he became one of the greatest scholars of Islam. Some of the, even Sahaba praised his ilm. Like this narrated upon Ibn Abbas and Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhuma, that when they were in the presence and people were asking them questions, they would say, like, as a compliment to him, why are you asking me questions? And Ata ibn Abi Rabah is here. Imagine a Sahabi saying that about you, right? And he was a tabi'i. And it said that under the Umayyad dynasty, he was given the authority of fatwa during the Hajj time in specific. It said he made over 70 Hajj by him, 70 times he made the Hajj. So he was one of the most knowledgeable in the ahkam of Hajj, the pilgrimage to the Bayt of Mecca. It said he would sometimes recite in one rak'ah or two rak'ahs Surah Al-Baqarah. He was known for his piety and his taqwa and his praying Qiyam al-Layl. And he wouldn't talk much. If he wasn't teaching, he would be silent and making adhkar to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he would, one of his greatest I don't know if you say pet peeves, but something he doesn't like so much is that if the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ is being narrated and other people are talking, he would get very angry. And he would say that, this is like a person who has lost his fortune, and disrespected the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. When the Prophet ﷺ is speaking, you should remain silent, right? So this is like the hadith is as like the Prophet ﷺ is speaking. He only had one son who was actually one of his students, and there's many, like even Abu Hanifa and others attesting to his knowledge and saying that he was one of the most knowledgeable of the tabi'een, radiallahu anhu. But it shows that he didn't let his hardships or his handicaps stop him from becoming a great scholar, and it shows that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not discriminate with the knowledge. It doesn't matter what color you are, it doesn't matter what your background is. We see that Ata, he was like an Abyssinian slave. Yazid ibn Habib was a Nubian. Hassan al-Basri was a slave. Ibn Sirin was a slave. Yet these are all scholars of the tabi'een. May Allah be pleased with them all. So he says that this woman, basically she's, the Prophet Ibn Abbas was saying that she's from the people of Jannah, and this is why, because the Prophet made a dua for her that if she is patient, or he told her that if she is patient, she will get Jannah. In our Aqidah, basically, we have two categories of people when it comes to directing or saying that somebody's from Jannah, right? The first one is the general descriptions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, for the characteristics of the people of Jannah that we bear witness to all. For example, the Muslimin, the Mu'mineen, the Muttaqeen, the Muhsineen, right? The people who are believers, Muslims, from the patient ones, from the righteous ones, from the ones that have taqwa. These are, we say that anybody who has these descriptions are from the people of Jannah. That's general, right? But we can't say a specific person is from Jannah or from the hellfire, except if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam have told us so. So in this case, we know that this woman, because the Prophet ﷺ told her she would be of Jannah, that she is from the people of Jannah. Who else is from Jannah that we know of? Who? The 10, who are they? Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali, Sa'id ibn Zayd. Who else? Ja'far? Yeah, it's a different narration. The 10 Mubashirin, so those ones that we mentioned, Sa'id ibn Zayd, Sa'id ibn Abi Waqqas, Sa'id ibn Zayd, Sa'id ibn Abi Waqqas, Abdurrahman ibn Auf, Talha ibn Ubaidullah, Abu Ubaidah al-Jarrah, and Zubayr ibn Awam, right? Also, like she said, some, like the Ja'far ibn Abi Talib was, he said they have the two wings of, in Jannah, basically, because his arms were chopped off during the battle, right? So that's another one. Also, Sa'ad ibn Mu'adh, Abdullah ibn Salam, Bilal ibn Abi Rabah. So anyone the Prophet specifically mentioned in a hadith that he's from or she's from the people of Jannah, we can say that and testify to that. Other than that, the knowledge is with Allah. We say, we hope that such and such is from the person of Jannah. We hope such and such is a shaheed. The people, may Allah, that are not Muslims or hurt the Muslims, may Allah give them the hellfire. They will be from the hellfire, etc. Like that in general. But specifically, we try to be careful of saying any such and such person is in hell forever or in Jannah forever, because that's something that's from ilm al-ghaib, right, from the unseen. When it comes to saying I'm blessed, also we should be careful, because that's also, you're kind of knowing about the unseen, right? Because you don't know for sure. In a sense that you mean I'm blessed, I'm thankful and grateful to Allah for all the blessings He's given to me. If you mean it like that, alhamdulillah. But if you mean I'm Mubarak, right, I'm a blessed one, I'm the gift of Allah to you, no, right? That's not, we don't know if a person is blessed or cursed, right? Because we can't make, the ahkam of the dunya is something that's just for the apparent. The ahkam of akhirah is something only with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? So we don't, also to your question, in terms of specific people, we can't, we rule upon the apparent, right, to make it easier for us. So if somebody dies as a Muslim, they prayed, they were apparently Muslim, we can make dua for them, we can make janazah for them, etc. If somebody died as a disbeliever, then we should refrain, right? We can't say, well, maybe he accepted Islam before he died, or maybe in his heart he was Muslim, so I'm going to make dua for him. We should refrain because that's something only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows, right? So we just see what's apparent to us, which is why as Muslims we should always be upon Islam, associate with Muslims, and try to die upon Islam, because we don't fall in the situation where it's like ambiguous. Was he Muslim or not? There's stories of people that are actually Muslim dying and people don't know if they were Muslim or not, and they get buried, with non-Muslims and stuff like that. So it's very important for a Muslim to be, upon the truth or the straight path as much as possible. In this hadith too, it shows that she had a disease and, she asked for dua, and the Prophet could have made dua for her to cure the disease, but he gave her a choice. So it shows that an affliction, that if you're patient, you'll get Jannah, right? So also some scholars derive from this that it's not necessary. Sometimes if people, they don't want to take medication, and they want to have tawakkul ala Allah, some scholars say that we can't say they're wrong in doing so. Like one time the Prophet was, very ill, and they tried to put medicine, and he said, I don't want, it's a very bitter medicine, and he said, I don't want it. But they thought because he's sick, he's not knowing better, he just put it in his mouth. So afterwards, as a punishment, he made everybody that did that takes the medicine. Like he said, if I tell you something, don't do it. Abu Bakr also, the same thing. He wanted to have complete tawakkul upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we don't have to blame people if they want to refrain and make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or use, like, for example, Zamzam or other things like that. And also the other way, if people want to take medication and try their best, also knowing that only this cure comes from Allah, that's also permissible, right? So both ways is fine. And also the seizures or the epileptic fits, there are two kinds. One is like a neurological or an imbalance that a person has, like a physical disease or something like that could be cured at times with certain therapies. And some scholars say that the other one is caused by the jinn, that people, like possession and stuff like that. Both cases have been reported in the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, and we believe in both cases. For one, there's medical alternatives, and the other there is spiritual alternatives that a person can go to have read upon him or to be better. Should we hope for affliction so we can get ajr or Jannah? No, we shouldn't. You're right. So in general, we should never hope for fitna or afflictions or trials, right? We should ask actually Allah to protect us from that. There's some narrations, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-baras wal-junun wal-judam wa min say'il asqam, right? That I seek refuge in you. The Prophet is making dua to Allah, oh Allah, I seek refuge in you from leprosy, insanity, mutilation, or any type of diseases, right? So this is showing us that we don't want the fitna. But if it comes to you and you're patient, you'll get rewarded. What about death? Can you hope for death? If you want to be a shaheed, that's something different. Yes, you can make dua for that. Like Umar radiallahu anhu used to make dua that may I, die as a shaheed and be buried in Medina. And we know the story that, subhanAllah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answered his dua. The Sahaba at the time were like, how can you be a shaheed and die in Medina? Medina is Muslim. But he was assassinated in his salat, subhanAllah, and he got the reward of shaheed, and he was buried in Medina. So yes, for that. But in general, we don't hope for death. Like the Prophet said that you shouldn't do so. If you are at a point like of severe misery, you can make the dua that, oh Allah, give me life if life is better for me, and give me death if death is better for me, right? To that point, if it gets to like an extreme, you can say that dua. But in general, because why shouldn't we make dua for death? Yes, exactly. So you might lose chance of repentance. You'll definitely lose chance of doing extra good deeds, right? There's narrations that show that such and such person died, and then the person after him lived such and such years, and he was in a much higher place in Jannah. Why? Because all the extra salawat he did, all the extra siyam he did, all the extra ibadat, right? So we should take the life as a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to try to worship Him and do as much good as possible, right? And leave that to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He knows when our time is to be, our soul to be taken. So in general, we don't hope for fitna or trials or tribulations, but the point is when they do come, we have sabr, and that's a reward of, we get the reward of Jannah, inshallah. And we can make dua for shifa, obviously. We make dua for other people who are afflicted. That's from the sunnah of the Prophet. Anbiya also, the Prophet has been teaching, like I just showed you, and also Prophet Ayub, and others, when they're going through their trials or tribulations, they made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's okay to turn to Allah and make dua. That doesn't negate the sabr of being patient. It's basically realizing Allah is in control of the affairs, and we turn to Him for our relief. Yes. No. So the brother's asking, like, what if you make a person thinks that it's a good time to go and make dua to Allah, take my soul right now? We don't know for sure. Like I said, it's always good to make that. You can make that dua anytime, even like now, it's making dua, Allah, if life is better for me, give me life. If that's better for me, give me death. Because the main thing is your deen, right? That's what, it's not from the dunya type of stuff. So if life is better for me and I'm going to be a better Muslim, I'm going to do more ibadat, increase me in life. Let me do more ibadah. Let me do good if I can help the Muslim ummah, if I can do something for the sake of Islam. If fitna is going to come into my deen, or someone's going to take me away from Islam, or something's going to try me to the point where I might have shak or something like that, then take my soul is better, right? That's the real mu'min is thinking that way. And the other person, if he's like in a severe grief and a hardship or sickness or something like that, he also can make that dua. But in the end of the day, like a mu'min, he's thinking how much ajr I can get and how much reward, how much good I can do before my soul is taken. So we don't want to be like, like Umar radiallahu anhu, he said that if my right foot is in Jannah and my left foot is not, I would still not be safe from going to Jannah. We can't be like, khalas, I'm muttaqi, I did my qiyam al-layl tonight, I did siyam, I did everything, take my soul right now. No, because we don't know for sure, if we still have force or a chance to do more ibadah, why should we, or you could do something great for Islam, some scholars say also, like, if this is like a side point obviously, but if you have information that can be used to harm the ummah of Islam or the Muslims in general, they allow for that in that situation, a person to, I don't want to be like, you understand. And also, subhanAllah, like, shifa is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even some people have been diagnosed, I think we mentioned this previously, with terminal illness, like you only have such and such time to live, and they're living many, many years after that, So having yaqeen in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, knowing that He's in charge of the affairs, Allah can give you shifa, right? Also, while you're going through the suffering of the disease or sickness or hardship, every single time you're patient with Allah, you're getting rewarded, right? And we derive from all these hadith we just read that the great reward for it is Jannah, right? So imagine, like, okay, I suffer for some time. Even if you suffered your whole life in this dunya, you were poor, you struggled, you had sickness, whatever, right? The whole dunya, even if you live 100 years, 1,000 years, is nothing compared to forever, right? You'll forget, like the hadith says that, the most severely tried person from the dunya, but he was a mu'min, he'll be dipped once in Jannah, and he will be asked, did you have any hardship in this dunya? And he'll say no. He forgot every single hardship with one dip in Jannah. And then an'am ahl al-ard, in terms of the disbelievers, he had the most, everything he wanted in this dunya, richness, fame, fortune, whatever, right? But he didn't have iman. He'll be dipped once in the hellfire, and he'll be asked, did you have any good? And he'll say no. He'll forget every single good from the dunya with that one dip in the hellfire. So always when we judge these things, look at the scale with iman, basically, right? The Prophet said that the smallest place in Jannah is greater than the dunya and everything in it. If we spent our whole lives going through the dunya and the pleasures of the dunya, we'll never be able to get all of it. But the smallest place in Jannah is greater than the dunya and everything in it, right? So having that comfort from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, yes, I'm going through hardship, but I'm going to be patient for the sake of Allah, and I will get Jannah. Alhamdulillah, there's nothing that's like better than that. That's why sabr is such a key factor in the life of a mu'min, right? You think our brothers and sisters now in Palestine, like what they're going through, like imagine, in other places in the world too, the suffering they're going through. But they realize, like, even with the suffering, they're smiling because they realize, inshallah, with their patience, they will get Jannah. And may Allah grant them relief and grant them, inshallah, victory. طيب, I guess we'll stop here. It's almost time for Isha. Inshallah, is there any questions or comments before we end? طيب, جزاكم الله خير. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.